Hi, TLT Carlson here. Time for another flashback today. We just got Beetlejuice, the sequel to Beetlejuice, in theaters not too long ago. So I thought it might be a fun time to go back and look at an oft-forgotten chapter in the history of the ghost with the most. What I'm looking at today is Beetlejuice, the complete series, this being the animated series that ran from 1989 to 1991 on multiple networks. I'm going to unbox this release and I will share my opinions. Nice cover art there with the animated version of Beetlejuice. Top of the box, side of the box, back of the box, side of the disc spines, bottom of the box. Now let's look at these actual sets of discs. The first set in here is seasons 1, 2, and 3, because these seasons apparently were shorter than number 4. Episode list on the back. And they even put some decent art in the background, and I appreciate the fact that they don't have disc spindles blocking the art. I wish more companies would take that into consideration. There's disc 1 of this set, disc 2, season 2 disc 1, and then season 3 disc 1. We then have season 4 part 1. Again, we do have some backing art, so that's pretty cool. Season 4, Disc 1, Season 4, Disc 2, Season 4, Disc 3, and Season 4, Disc 4. And lastly, we have Season 4, Part 2. Here's our background art for this one. Season 4, Disc 5, Disc 6, Disc 7, and Disc 8. And then, of course, once again, our episode list on the back. Based on Tim Burton's blockbuster film of the same name, this animated show features Beetlejuice, the wild ghost with the most from the Netherworld, and his mortal best friend Lydia Dietz, a young, perky goth girl attending a private school in a sleepy little Connecticut town. Upon befriending Lydia, Beetlejuice promptly whisks her off from her ordinary life into wacky adventures in the land of the dead, or Netherworld, which is filled with kooky characters and madcap monsters at every turn. Now, all 94 ghoulish episodes have popped up on DVD for the first time with this hauntingly good 12-disc set. It's showtime. I will admit, I didn't watch the Beetlejuice cartoon when it was very first on, but in later years of my childhood, they actually re-aired it on Nickelodeon, so I did have a chance to catch it and watch it a few times, probably more toward like the mid-late 90s. Now, the show doesn't feature any of the cast from the film, but there's a pretty talented array of voice actors here who bring these characters to life. Obviously, this is toned down from the film, which had some pretty risque elements, like the afterlife is now called the Netherworld. I guess they didn't want to mention death on a kid's show, which is somewhat understandable. And again, despite people not reprising their roles from the movies, the voice cast is quite good, including Stephen Ouimet, hope I'm pronouncing that name right, as the voice of Beetlejuice, who actually does bring a lot of personality and hipness to this character. And then Lydia, of course, is the other main character returning from the film. Again, not voiced here by Winona Ryder, who played her in the films, but again, everyone has a fun time with what they're doing. In the movies, Beetlejuice was borderline antagonistic and wasn't exactly a likable character. He's certainly still a bit selfish and mean-spirited in the cartoon, but the cartoon certainly makes him into more of a hero, and the relationship that he has with Lydia is certainly a much more positive one. And the two, despite their occasional spats, do operate well as friends. And the Netherworld is certainly a fun place with a lot of interesting locales and characters. The show goes through a lot of the typical cartoon and sitcom-style plots of the day. I mean, it's not the most original writing in the world, but the show is certainly fun. I mean, this was on the air for 4 seasons and nearly 100 episodes. At the peak of its popularity, it was even airing on more than one network, which, for a kid's cartoon of the day, was pretty much unheard of. Now, again, I'm not going to say this show is perfect or the best animated thing ever made. I mean, it looks like this was made, somewhat on the cheap, although Tim Burton and David Geffen were both executive producers, so it clearly did have their stamp of approval. I did have a lot of fun revisiting the Beetlejuice cartoon on DVD, and I do have to say, if you are a fan of, the works of Tim Burton, the Beetlejuice character, or you just like good old school late 80s, early 90s cartoons, you could certainly do a lot worse than Beetlejuice. This series is finally on DVD, again, in this case, courtesy of Shout Factory. And this set is 12 discs spanning all 4 seasons of the show. Sadly, the DVDs do not look great. This is pretty much the typical looking DVD from a cartoon of this era. There hasn't really been any remastering or cleanup done. It's certainly far below an HD release. If this could be like cleaned up and put on a Blu-ray, I'll bet it would look very nice. But again, the show, much like this transfer, does look to be somewhat on the cheap. I wouldn't come in here expecting great picture quality, but it's certainly watchable and better than any bootleg old VHS tapes you might have lying around. Sadly, no bonus features. Would have been nice to get some commentaries and interviews on here, but just being able to get everything in this package in one place is pretty nice. I did find this in Big Lots in one of the stores that was closing down. It was listed for $26.99, and I think they knocked like 20% off on account of the liquidation sale. There's also another DVD set of Beetlejuice The Complete Series, which is a 10-disc set, and I don't really know what any of the major differences are. If I get my hands on that set as well, I will certainly review that here too. So I can recommend this set to fans of the series, or if you're just someone who's curious. But again, there's also that newer set. You might want to look into that. You might be able to find that a little cheaper since that's a more recent reissue. How about you? Did you grow up with the Beetlejuice cartoon? Was this one of your personal favorites as a kid? How does it compare to the movies? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more comics. I'm always posting new videos. And make sure to listen to like if you found it helpful. I'm TLT Carlson. I'll see you next time.